positive.
Okay, all right, y'all. I'm here with my friend Avi. Say what's up, Avi. And say hi. And okay, Avi.
Forgot I have to talk.
Yeah, you know what we're doing right now, Avi?
What?
What should people know if they want to move to New York? Oh, I threw a curveball at you. You didn't know I was going to ask you about that. Avi,
One
first.
advice is
Oh.
don't.
What?
Don't move here.
Oh, don't move here? Why?
Too many people.
Too many people?
Yeah, the subways are crowded.
Should we stop gentrifying? Should we stop gentrifying New York?
Who am I to speak about that?
Okay, wait, Avi. Okay, tell me about New York. How long? Do you live in New York? Where do you live, Avi?
I live in New York. I've lived here for 5.5 years now.
5.5 years. How many places have you lived in?
How many places? 5
5?
or 6 maybe. Yeah.
5 or 6 places. So what neighborhoods have you lived in New York for somebody who's like, I might want to move to New York? Where have you lived, Avi?
In Brooklyn, I've lived in Bed-Stuy, Fort Greene, Prospect Heights, Park Slope. In Manhattan, I've lived in East Village, Hell's Kitchen, Upper West. Briefly in some places, not for a long time.
What was the best place and what was the worst place?
I like Brooklyn, honestly. I don't think Manhattan is too loud. It's just too chaotic, too many people. I like going there, but I like coming back home to Brooklyn.
So Brooklyn is more chill. Manhattan is a lot.
Yeah, Manhattan has a lot of high rises. Brooklyn has low rises, which I prefer. I like being able to see the sky. And I think Manhattan is fun for like shorter stints, but I mean, some parts of Manhattan are nice, but overall, I feel like Brooklyn is more homely if you're living here long term.
How do you ball on a budget in New York?
Well, do you want me to answer the moving to New York part? I would say definitely budget a lot when you're moving to New York, just because one, things are expensive, and also like the process of getting an apartment, if you're getting your own place, like without roommates, or like even if you're doing with roommates, like getting a place, like there's broker's fees, there's first month, last month deposit, there's like 4x the rent that you'll have to shell
Like
out.
startup costs.
Yeah.
So like if I'm like I got $1,000 in a dream, I'm gonna move to New York. Probably won't cut it.
No.
Probably you could maybe sleep on the subway.
Yeah, or on
Maybe
the
you
street,
could sleep on the street.
Yeah. But yeah, that's not gonna work just because New York is expensive, and also like the overhead of initial cost is pretty high.
Okay, well, you know what? I got $1 in a dream. I want to move to New York. You know,
You
how
can
do I
make it
ball on a
work.
budget?
I feel like, I mean, there are Facebook groups like Gypsy Housing. Yeah, or like Rent Share, whatever, where you can find roommates, and then you can probably find you're just renting a room. Don't.
Okay, so okay, Avi, do you actually suggest renting a room? Now, it is very economically viable,
It really depends.
but it just depends on the kind of person you are.
Kind of person you are. Like if you have friends already, that's probably the best, and you know your roommates. But it's also like everyone is doing the same thing, you know, like it doesn't hurt. You might make some new friends. Actually, if you're moving here by yourself, and if you can find a roommate who's like already here around the same age, like that might be a good entry point into like making a social circle or a friend group, because you're, instead of being by yourself, now their friends come over to your place, like which you share, or you can like make friends like that.
Maybe they have a hot friend,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, so I think it's a good way to like meet new people, because people are anyways like less guarded in like a home space where they know people. So it's a good way to meet friends, but they're also like crazy roommates, so be careful.
Interesting. What are some of those groups, if I'm interested in moving to New York, what are some of those groups I should look into?
Gypsy Housing is very popular, but I think the name is controversial, so they might have changed it now, but I think it's still called that. It has like over 100,000 people, so it's a very active group. Then I think there is Brooklyn Room Share, New York Sublets. Like these are all like Facebook groups that you can look at.
Okay, Avi, I just moved to New York, and what should I do to make money?
can't speak from experience because I
Oh,
have
yeah.
like things already lined up. But I
Yeah.
would say
Oh, we did school. Wait. So why were you in New York, Abby?
I was in grad school initially. That's where I moved, and then I got a job, so I stayed on. But I would say there is actually a lot of people I know who moved here for service jobs, like working in a restaurant, working in a bar. Those that can be actually pretty high paid here because if you especially work in like a high end restaurant, like the tips are really good. And I have friends who like move here with like no plans and then get a job and do fine. Like service jobs, like New York has a lot of people, so there's always room for if you're a fashion person, go work at a thrift store. Like there's some nice boutique thrift stores, so there's always jobs.
What do you love the most about New York?
I like the diversity. I feel like everyone belongs here. There's not like a type of. Can you just focus on both of us?
Okay.
Even when I'm talking.
Right.
Yeah, there's just everyone belongs. Everyone, like whatever kind of person you are, whatever you look like. Like anytime you walk down the street, you hear at least like 2-3 different languages. I appreciate that. I feel like it is very non-homogeneous, which I like.
What does that mean?
Not everyone like looks the same, sounds the same, and not also works in the same. Like that's something I felt like in where I lived before. Like LA could be like very entertainment focused. Like the SFA area could everyone just works in tech. I feel like here you can share a subway ride with like a stand-up comic and an investment banker and a aspiring like writer, like all on the same, and that I find very interesting. That like we're all like in a vehicle together, all doing different things. Like the heterogeneity of profession is something I appreciate, the diversity of it. Not just what you look like, but like what you do for a living or like what matters to you. So it also like keeps people humble, I feel, because if you're like an entertainment superstar in LA, you might be full of yourself because everyone does that and you're like at the top of the totem pole. But here you can be something, but like there are other people doing good at their professions. So I like that balance. And I also like, I mean, you have like amazing access to like world class art and culture. Like if you can go and like go look at a Rothko or like good at like any like top artists, like go to the MoMA, go to the Met, and like see them for like free almost. I think all New York residents get museum access for free. But even if you're not, like it's pretty minimal, and to have access to like those kind of arts and culture is pretty cool. That we can go and witness those kind of like historical pieces.
What's the most culturous place in New York?
New York is very diverse. Can you put yourself in
Well, I do. Okay, just talk louder though. Talk louder.
Okay,
Because I want them to be able to hear you because you're giving out good stuff. Okay, Abhinav.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of culturally significant places in New York. Like it's an old city. Like it started from Lower Manhattan as like the Dutch immigrants. I mean, there's a whole history you can read up. It's very fascinating. I find it very fascinating. But now, like over the years, there are like very different pockets. Like there are parts of Queens that are like full of Nepalese people or Indian people. There is parts of South Brooklyn which is full of like Russian people and a lot of Polish people. So there's these like very diverse pockets which feel very authentic to the culture that they're in, and you can find authentic food, authentic like you can hear the language, you can see like grocery stores that like I live in a place where nearby in walking distance I have like very good Eastern European grocery stores, and you get stuff that locals buy. So yeah, I think every place has like a lot of different significance. There can't be like one place that is very culturally significant. I think every neighborhood is very different. That's why I feel like it's hard to also get bored. Like every year, if you like keep moving neighborhoods, you feel like you're almost in a new city because
So true.
everyone has like a very distinct culture. So
It's like a different world in each of the different places I visited
and
you at.
like you can keep moving like everyone, which most people do, because that's another thing. New York landlords are greedy and they raise the rent. Most places are not rent controlled, unfortunately. So then people just have to move. So I have many friends who move almost every year, but that also gives you an opportunity to like almost live in a new city by moving to a new neighborhood.
How do you find a good place to get coffee?
Look at Google reviews.
Google reviews?
Yeah.
How-
But there are also like so many lists. There are so many New York YouTubers. Like I personally visit. I mean, coffee is a pretty low stakes. It's not that like you're going to like a 7 course meal and like you waste a lot of money and it's shit. Like, go there, sit there, see what the crowd is like, see how the coffee is like. Even if you don't like it, don't come back there again. There's too many options. So
La Cabra is good.
yeah, La Cabra in East
La
Village
Cabra
is
is
really,
really
it's really
good.
good. It's a Danish coffee shop, and it's I think their first.
Dude, get the bread with butter there. Oh my
It's
lord.
their first location.
Are you kidding? You know there was a La Cabra where I was walking? There's 2 here.
There's one in Soho and there's one.
I
in
went
East
to the one in
Village,
Soho.
Yeah.
And I didn't go to. I walked right past it because I couldn't do the honey
there's-
almond butter
there's
for the New Year.
two in New York, but yeah, that's a good one. It was in a lot of lists, so it becomes very. That's the thing about New York, though. Like if one like the steak place that you're lining up for that day. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so popular. So
Is TikTok a good place to find reviews?
yeah.
You should talk about. I've been here 10 days. Abhi has taken me to like the most bomb.com restaurant in the world, like every single
I
day.
mark things. Like whenever I hear something.
No, he
I
says like,
mark
"Oh
it.
yeah, I mark things." He does like extensive research into like every single niche and subculture of food, and will get you like the absolute best. If you're like, I want like a good linguinis and clam place, you'd be like, oh my god, I got like 7 places that have 15 stars, who reviewed 500 times, and I've personally had my friends go and check them out, and these places look really good. Like, he will not waste your time with his food recommendations.
I feel like you cannot have a bad meal in New York, and every meal you can be special because there's so many good places. I think there was like a list
Inclusive
where
guy.
you could eat at like a new place in New York every single day of your life, and by the time you finish, like all of the restaurants, new ones open up, so you can't really like finish eating it all. So there are a lot of good places, and I don't want to have a bad meal, so I do mark. I have list on Google Maps that I very
Damn right you do. And I've seen that list, and it looks like
exhaustively
it looks like a 13-year-old's face with all those red dots
Yeah.
on that map. That's funny.
lots of dots, and I have very different lists. I have coffee,
Very
I have
coffee,
I have speakeasies, I have
Speakeasies,
bars, I have nightlife,
bars, nightlife, all that stuff. What is what is something you need to know before you move to New York?
What you need to know? I mean, be street smart. Like, don't be a dumb person. Like it's also a big city, like any other big city. There is crime. There is crazy people, and by the time like once you live here long enough, like some of the crazy people doesn't even bother you. Like, get on the subway, someone is like singing something, someone is shouting at you. You just like have your
Ignore it.
have your headphones on and keep on. Like, you can tell the people who are new or like who are tourists because they stare, and like we don't even care. We just like go on with our day. It's like just another day. The people who live here long term, they don't really care. They get used to it.
Just don't look like people are being crazy. Just I'm busy.
Yeah.
I'm busy.
Yeah, don't make eye
I'm
contact.
busy.
Just like read your book, have your headphones on. Like, everyone is minding their business. But be careful. I mean, that's true for any big city. Like, I felt very unsafe in Paris when I visited. So I feel like any big city will have crime and whatnot. You've lived in New York. What is your favorite part? And now I've been here for 10 days. Like, what do you like about New York?
10 days. Fuck you.
Yeah, you have.
I also lived here,
You lived here, but this visit also has been like you've
but
had
this
a-
visit is also a visit in itself. I'm kind of breaking out. I really like New York. Now, something that I really dislike about New York, why I like LA more, is that it is just so like it's so claustrophobic in here, and that is something I don't like. You know, especially if you're someone who's like not in a position to be spending a lot of money on rent, like. You're gonna be like living like very like I just don't feel like there's a lot of room. I don't feel like there's room for my mind to wander that much. I mean, it is great to be in this city, and like you're going outside of your house most of the time. Like, let's be real, you're not in your house.
Most people come home just to sleep.
That's a big thing. Is that like you can wake up and leave your house and just come back to sleep every single day. Like, if you move to New York, the last place you want to be all day is your house because there's so much to do outside of it. So I guess what I love about it is that there is so much different food, like we talked about this in LA, like In LA, if you go to the beach, like that's like a whole day, kind of, unless you live really close to the beach. Like if you live in Hollywood, like you drive down and like it's traffic hour, and now you got, you know what I mean? It's kind of a pain in your eye. And here, you go to Brighton Beach, you go to the dentist,
Yeah,
you
can
go to a
get
Knicks game.
lot done in one
Not
day.
that I've like done all that in a day, but like you get a
You
lot
can.
done
You
out
have
here.
had like crazy days where I've had like 5 very different things done in one day.
Yeah, so
So it's easy to do that, and it's also easier to see friends. I feel I visit LA a lot, and again, this is not a LA versus New York video, but it's really, you don't really see friends if they're like far off. Like here, I think like you can meet downtown, or like everyone is out and about anyways, so it's easier to meet people, or like keep in touch with your friends.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that, and I do like walking a lot. You know, even me, I'm a very lazy person. I don't like to walk around a lot, but I was actually feeling today like, wow, this is nice, just walking around and doing,
And I have my thoughts on that.
what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm big on like walkable cities. I think Europe does it very well. America is just primed for cars, which I don't like. I feel like it is very insular. It's very isolating. You never really mingle with people. You don't like actually be a part of the city. You're just like in your tin boxes going from place A to place B. But it can also be exhausting sometimes, or annoying. Like sometimes I don't want to walk. So I don't know, but overall I'm a big fan of like walkable cities where people like actually interact with their surroundings and not just like be in their cars going from place A to place
Yeah,
B.
you know what I like? Okay, well, I also will say this. People in New York are kind of more mean, more like dickheads out here, for sure. But it's not in like a bad way. It just is people are nice, but they're just like surface level rude. But like they're kind. You know, I would say that.
That's like a,
But like in LA, it's like people act really nice, but they're like, "Arr," you know what I mean? So it's kind of flip flop out here. But I don't really like the initial coldness of people out here. It feels like
they're just in a hurry. I feel like
people are
everyone is
just in a hurry,
they're
but
just
like
they want people to get out of their way, get on with their, like, people don't have time.
yeah, they just don't have time. Everything's like so cash out here. It feels like it's no big deal. Like that's how it feels. Like it's like, oh, whatever. It's, you know, yeah. I feel like things just like the little shit that like neurotic LA people, and like I'm LA, and I grew up in Arizona and Chicago, mostly Arizona, and Arizona is very West Coast, like California, and it's very like everything's la 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 la, and like, you know, people are very neurotic, and they're like, oh my god, did I like say that weird, and like just in their heads about things. I feel like New York is very like you get on with it, which is I think good because I don't know, it just I feel like it just slices off some like, you know, bullshitty type commentary
like
you have.
Small talk, chit chat. No one has time for that here.
Yeah, it's no small talk chit chat. Oh, hey, how's your day? Like,
Yeah.
I that makes me. I could go on about that, but
But New York overall, I think it's a good place, especially for young people. You can like pack in a lot of experiences. I think everyone in their 20s, if they can, should live in New York for at least a year or two, because it's a very, like, especially in the US, it's the most international city. I feel like it's 24 hours. Like even around the world, I feel like outside of like say a Tokyo or Hong Kong or Mumbai or something, like not many cities are 24 hours. Like even London, like the tube closes at 2 a.m. Like I've been to places, and New York truly feels like an international world-class city. Although the infrastructure is kind of crumbling always, the subway is smelly and rats everywhere. But you know, that's why I feel like you should do it when you're younger, because you can do with more inconveniences than later in life. But it's a cool place to be as a young person. But yeah, New York is cool. I
Yeah.
like it. It's home for now.
if I could change one thing about when I lived out here, I would have. Well, I lived during COVID, so I can kind of like be like, oh well, it's fine. But I would say that I wish that I had made more of an effort to get involved in the community that was completely random, and just inserted myself in situations where like a chess club or like a Pokemon club or like just something that like where I would find some sense of community, or just like at least be exposed to some people who are into similar things, because that is so available to you. I feel like it's really easy to connect with a lot of different people because there's so many people trying
they're
to
always like,
connect
and I
with
think that's
you.
how you also make friends as adults. I feel like in school you're surrounded by people your age. In work you have like co-workers, but like outside of those places it's really hard to meet people with similar interests. So I guess the trick is to like show up for things consistently. Like if you're into yoga, if you're into music, like you go to those classes week after week and you meet the same people, and that's how you like build a community as an adult. So all right, we should wrap this up.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's it. Interview with a New Yorker about New York. Abhi, thanks for your time today. You have any last words about New York?
Nothing. It's great. You should give it a shot.
It's the Big Apple.
Big Apple.
You're a Big Apple.
Mm-mm.
All right. Love you guys. Abhi.
Like, share, subscribe.